Hello, welcome to another episode of our Over the Limit podcast. We're back with a guest.
Yeah, first time.
It's the first time we're doing it also remotely, so I hope everything works. If not, it's definitely Dries' fault because he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And we have a guest.
Lack of knowledge.
Yeah, and will. So we have a guest on the show. I've been talking to Jordan Taylor for a while. It's obviously a bit difficult to do it here at home, as he lives in Florida. So hence the remote thing. For those, Jordan Taylor, 4 times IMSA champion, 2 times winner of Daytona, 1 time Le Mans GT, if I'm correct. So not a bad CV so far. I've raced against Jordan in IMSA for a couple of years. I like to flash my Porsche headlights against him when he's in front of me. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Everything okay? How's life in Florida?
Yeah, it's good. It's warm. You probably noticed, like, you lived here a little bit, right?
Yeah.
In Dunedin? Yeah. So we're just hitting the summer, so it's
Humid.
getting nice and warm and humid, so the training's becoming less and less fun.
I can imagine, yeah.
I'm actually quite
but it's
happy
all good.
to have Jordan.
Sorry?
Also. I'm actually quite happy to have Jordan. I think you know Lawrence a bit better than I do, than myself. Sorry, but yeah, knowing you for all the racing, and yeah, happy to have you in the show as well. I mean, Lawrence did already an introduction, but I'm making it a bit
some
weird.
Fun stories. But for those Europeans who are not the biggest followers of IMSA or Le Mans, maybe you can have a very short introduction and a very quick summary of, in a couple of minutes, of your racing career and how you've become what you are today as a Corvette factory driver.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, my dad raced Wayne Taylor, and he owns a team now, Wayne Taylor Racing. So growing up around the racetrack, sports car was always the goal. So going to Daytona and Sebring and Le Mans as a kid was seeing it firsthand that the passion was always for sports cars, not IndyCar or Formula One. So I did my first Daytona when I was 16 in a Porsche. It was a disaster, but it was a good experience. And then became a GM driver. What?
Because it was a Porsche, or?
No, I mean, it was a small team, so it was a very small effort, but I had no idea what I was doing. I went from basically like small junior formula straight into this race, and it was a good experience. I think I always said that it was good to be kind of thrown in at the deep end and learning from good guys. Like back then, I think Richard Westbrook had just won like the Super Cup championship, and he was in a Porsche. So racing around guys like that, you're kind of forced to learn or not learn. So it was a good experience. And then I kind of progressed through GT and became a GM driver back in 2011, back in Grand Am in a Camaro, and then became Corvette third driver back in 2012, and then kind of stayed a third driver for a while. We won Le Mans in 2015, and then I went to prototypes for my dad's team from 13 until 19. And then when I was teammates with my brother, we won Daytona, Sebring, and Petite, and the championship back in 17. And then I won Daytona again with Ranger, Alonso, and Kamui back in 19. Yeah. And then after that year, we moved to Corvette full time, and then I've been with Antonio Garcia since then, and we won the last 2 GTLM championships when there weren't that many cars left, but it was still good competition inside the team against the 4 car, so it was always good experience. And then now, still Corvette driver in GTD Pro.
Yeah, Corvette always, I guess it's been kind of dream for you, right? Because you were in the upper class in DPI back then, but it was with your dad's team, let's say, together with your brother. So I guess you wanted to leave the stable, or wasn't there another reason for that switch?
Once I became like a GM driver back in 11, the goal was always to become a Corvette driver in GT. And when I went to prototypes, it was fun racing for overall wins. And then once I was with Ricky for a few years, I think 14 until 17 before he left for Penske. And we had won like lots of races. We won Petite together and a couple races a year, but we hadn't won like a championship or a big race together. So in 17, when we won Daytona, Sebring, and the championship all together, it was kind of like, I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish here in prototypes, and I wouldn't say I wanted a new challenge, but GTLM was always a class I really admired, and it was amazing drivers, amazing teams. The tire development was always exciting to me, and the competition was crazy. So for me, it was an exciting change. And yeah, once that kind of went away, the GT3 is a little less exciting, but it's still great to be involved with a manufacturer like GM and developing the new car for next year. The new GT3 car has been a lot of fun as well. So yeah, it was hard to leave, the family team, but I think after we had won, Daytona twice together, we won 2 championships together. It's kind of like we had accomplished what we needed to accomplish, and we could kind of move on now.
Do you miss now not being in the LMDH hypercar era, or?
A little bit. I mean, when I first switched, it was like, wow, this is a much harder challenge than I expected when I went to GT. Like, I felt like prototypes was more of a physical strain, and then GTs was very like a mental strain. Just being constant. I felt like when I first did Daytona that first year, I didn't realize like in prototypes, which now, like you'll say you're coming to the bus stop and you're not going to pass a GT car. Like you can relax your body and your mind. Like, all right, I'm going to lose a second here, but I can just cruise to the bus stop. And then my first year in GT there, I was like, oh, there's a prototype coming. Let me relax. I'll let him go. I'll lose a second here. And then you're like, holy cow, I just lost a second. I'm never going to find that second again. So I was like, you're like always flat out and always pushing. And it took me like the first 6 or 12 hours of Daytona to realize like, okay, there's no chilling out when you're driving a GT car. Like in a prototype, you can chill every now and then, like a petite. If you catch them down the S's, you can't do anything. So you chill for 5 seconds. But in GT, it was like nowhere near that. I was just mentally draining the whole time. So yeah, it's different, but I enjoy the challenge of GT racing.
I think a lot of people, I mean, yeah, from the outside, if you looked at GTLM the last couple of years when it exists, I mean, we had like, what, in the top 6, 8 cars, and people say, oh, it's not a lot of cars, but for me being inside as well, it's a tough environment, like a lot of work, a lot of development. I always thought it was a lot more competitive and tougher than you could see from the outside.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even as a fan, like watching races back, like if you watch an old race, like GT has never covered that much. It's always a prototype battle, even if it's not even a battle. So you miss a lot of it. So I understand why the fans don't follow it. Some fans don't follow it as much or maybe respect it as much as they should. But yeah, once you're in it, I mean, in the GT class in particular, you become to respect it. And I think even the prototype guys don't understand kind of the level it is. And I think now that guys like you and with BMW and Porsche and Ferrari elevating their drivers from GT to prototype, it kind of gives a little bit more respect. And that was kind of something I was proud of going from prototypes to GT, was to kind of like, I don't know, connect the two and be like, hey guys, like from the prototype guys that I was successful with, be like, it's not as easy as it looks. And so I really wanted to be successful in GT to kind of like prove that I can do both, but it's also difficult to do both.
I think it's tougher from going from prototypes to GTs, I think, no? If you've seen in the past, like, for example, at Audi, we had LMP1 guys like Andre Lotterer and Fassler coming to GT, even though they knew what a GT car was, that it was tough to adapt. It seems like tougher to adapt that way than for us going to a prototype.
Because I find I mean, I don't know how it is driving on Michelin tires and a fully developed like proper GT car. Like, I mean, what I was driving, like for example, 2 years ago, GT3 on Pirelli tires, going to an LMP2 race, for example, in Le Mans, you drive these prototypes and you get the downforce, you don't have ABS, but you immediately get this nice feeling, and then you jump back into, maybe it's so stupid to say, but to a shit box, and you have no grip and you are sliding everywhere. It took me, I think, half a day to get back used to how to drive the car, because it's so different, and the feeling is completely different from jumping from a prototype to a GT. That was at least my experience, but I think it is more difficult going from prototypes to GT.
Yeah, I've never driven Le Mans in a prototype only GT, but Ricky did both, and he always said the GT was a little bit more difficult. So you guys can probably say from experience.
I mean, I obviously spent a lot of years in GT, and I enjoyed it a lot, but now after the experience I had in prototype, and maybe it's because it's still new, you know, I enjoy that a bit more somehow. I mean, GT car like Le Mans, you can throw over all the curbs and push a lot, and the car can take it. But then, I mean, when I did my first laps now in the LMDH in Le Mans, I had like a huge smile on my face, just the speed and Porsche corners, and it's different, but it's, I don't know, I also now somehow enjoy that more. And again, maybe just because it's new, and in 1 year I will call that thing a shitbox.
Yeah, I mean, everything, when it's new, it's fun, but I do agree that there's more, it's just a different way of fun, not a different, it's just, you get a different feeling. And I think that's what makes it more fun. Like you said, with a GT car, you drive over the curbs, but it also, you don't feel slow, but it's just, yeah. I don't know, it's different. You had a lot of success in the USA in endurance racing, but I think you, if I'm not mistaken, you did a debut in NASCAR on a road course race. Is it like maybe secretly a dream of yours to join NASCAR and to do a full season?
I mean, it wasn't really a dream. I think once we drove with Jeff Gordon back in 2017 at Daytona, we got to know him a little bit, and it just seemed impossible to like make the switch to NASCAR back then. Like talking to him, it seemed impossible. And those guys that do it grow up doing ovals, racing like 60 times a year on little ovals every day of the week. So it's like an impossible task to kind of learn at this point, I think at this age. But then last couple of years working with kind of the Garage 56 program, and then I helped coach a little bit the Hendrick guys for the Daytona road course. I got to know them a little bit, but I think the Garage 56 thing kind of really strengthened the relationship. And then when Chase Elliott got injured, they asked if I wanted to fill in, and for sure I said yes. And then as soon as I said yes, I was like, holy cow, like I don't know if I want to do this now, because like there's obviously gonna be so many eyes on it, especially obviously in America. There's gonna be a lot of eyes because he's the most popular driver the last like 6 or 7 years. So you're getting into a car that is capable of winning, and with the craziest fans you could kind of imagine. And whenever a road course guy goes and does this, they do not do well. So it's like, if I don't do well, it's going to be very embarrassing and kind of ruin any other buddy's chances of getting a shot at it. So it was hectic, like the whole week leading into it. I think I found out like 2 weeks before the race, and then I went straight to the shop to do a seat, went back to do the Sebring 12-hour, went back to Charlotte the day after Sebring. Or no, we tested in Sebring for 2 days after, left from Sebring back to Charlotte to do my simulator day and pit stop practice, and then flew straight from there to Austin for the race. And you only get 50 minutes of practice, and then straight to qualify, and then straight to race. And the car is a tank to drive. Like, you've never felt it. If you think GT3 cars aren't great, you have no idea what a race car feels like, because it was just, it doesn't brake well. Like at Portland, that I just did an Xfinity car, I did the track walk, and there were brake markers starting at 700, and I was like, okay, what's this? And then you were braking at the 700. I couldn't believe it. But the Coda weekend was good. Like, we started practice, I was 4th on the first run, and then ended up 10th, and then we qualified 4th, which was really good, because you had to like progress. Like, they split the qualifying in half, and if you make the top 5, you go to the top 10 round. So we really wanted to make the top 10 round, but we did 2 runs on the set of tires, and NASCAR tires are not sports car tires. Like, your out lap is your fastest lap, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. So usually, like in sports cars, like I've got like my warm up procedure of the tire, like how I like to warm up the tire and find my limits. And I told the guys, like, all right, I want to get a big brake zone into whatever 7 and then 10, and then I'll go. And then I leave the pits on the out lap, and I'm not kidding, you were below pit speed limit all the way around. Just everyone going so slow.
You get to peak in the pit lane
to save the tire. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is crazy. So when we did our first run, we were like 3rd, and they wanted to do a second run to make sure we made the top 5. And then that killed the tire doing the second run, but we went faster. And then when we went to the top 10 round, we were like one of the only cars with 3 laps on the tires. So I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then it was way worse. But we still finished fourth, which was good. And then
I mean, it's
the
quite.
race.
On all, when I saw that, I was like, "Fuck, that's
Yeah.
actually a very good achievement for a young experience."
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. I mean, I think it was the stat was like the highest rookie qualifying since 1997 or something crazy like that.
But then they abused you in the race. I saw.
Oh, it was horrible.
What happened?
Like before the race, the team's like, yeah, be careful of like side to side contact because like the toe links are the most sensitive piece. So I was like, okay, like I'll take it easy. And then the start, they're just all around me, and then I'm like, okay, like don't hit me. So then I drop like to 10th, and then the next restart, like they just go crazy, and the cars are so strong, like you just get smashed. Nothing happens to the car, and like there was one point where I was getting hit. I was like in the middle, like 4 wide into turn 1, just getting hit on the sides, and I was getting hit side to side so hard the wheel got ripped out of my hands. So like I wasn't even holding on the wheel and just driving forward. And I'm like, all right, it must be destroyed. And then I grabbed the wheel. It was dead straight. It kept going like nothing. So yeah, like the way they race is different. And like I got hit so hard in the back once that I saw stars. And I was like, the car must be destroyed. No problem. Kept going and finished the race. Yeah, it was mayhem. Like we made it back to the top 10, I think, for the last restart, and then Eric Almirola like just drove down the inside and pushed us all off the track, and me and Raikkonen had a battle on the last lap, just hitting each other for no reason. Like at this point, I was like, "That's Kimi Raikkonen." I'll just start hitting him. He started hitting me back all the way down the back straight, and then he had a massive moment and flew off the track.
I guess it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
You kind of learn that, like in their form of racing, like even if you're 29th, like in a sports car race, if you're 29th, you're like,
Dead.
just let's finish the race. Who cares about this race? Like they will race you like it's for the win for 29th place there. So it's a different sport for sure. And then I did Portland, which was better. We were running like top 5, top 6, and then the gearbox broke. But it's fun to kind of have a new challenge, I'd say.
If you'd have the opportunity, like, let's say, dog attack.
Yeah.
If you'd have the opportunity tomorrow to do like a full season, would you take it or stay where you are at the moment?
Oof, that's a tough question. I think a full season would be difficult because like I've only done one little oval race.
Sure.
So I think it'd be so hard to learn. I think if I had to pick right now, I'd say like I'd do my full season in IMSA and do a partial season there where I do the road courses and maybe try like 3 or 4 ovals. I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I think I did that little oval race in a late model, and it was fun. Like it's so different. The way the weekends work are different. Like the way the crew is and the people and the fans. It's such a different world, but it's fun kind of learning it. So a partial season would be really cool.
I've actually never been to a real NASCAR. I've been to Indy 500.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the Daytona 500 already years, but somehow it never fits in the calendar. But I guess it's a bit of a culture shock compared to what we used to.
I mean, I just wanted to ask because I mean, from the outside, they always say, "Oh, it's it's NASCAR. They drive in circles." But I mean, it's a joke that people say this. I don't know which oval race you did, but how difficult? I mean, I guess it's really hard. Not maybe driving wise as well, but I think mentally to just keep your focus for so many laps to driving so close to the walls.
Yeah, the track I did wasn't like one of those, and the race was only 100 laps, and it was a short lap, so it wasn't like one of their crazy long ones. But I can imagine it being like crazy mentally straining through the race and physical too. Like the Coda race in the Cup car was 4 hours, and it was so hot in that thing. Like the funniest thing that I heard was Jensen Button did the race, and he was hot too.
I heard it.
And he came in twice just for water breaks. So like, and he's a fit guy. So like, it's physical too. Like the drivers don't look like they're athletes, but maybe all the extra padding on their body is like
And
good for the heat or something.
That's what I wonder, because I know from Earl as well. When I mean, he didn't admit it like that, but when he crashed in Daytona, it was pretty much because he was done. He was
No
also
way.
overheated and he was physically drained. And I know he's not the fittest, but he can cycle a bit, not crazy, but I
What
wonder
do
as well, like the typical. I mean, no, not saying about, you have a lot of NASCAR drivers where you say, okay, they don't have running shoes or
Yeah.
or a bike,
Yeah.
but then somehow I guess, well, they race every weekend. I guess that's their.
I think
their
that's what it
training.
is. I think they're race fit and they're like heat adapted a little bit more
Yeah.
than us. I think we're kind of spoiled now with the air conditionings and stuff like that. So
Can't say
Yeah,
that because then
I-
the engineers will take it out again.
yeah, yeah. Some of the bodies you see in NASCAR, you'd be like, how the heck is that guy couldn't run a mile if his life depended on it? So
You have
it's
AC
impressive.
in the Porsche now?
Yeah,
We don't.
yeah, I heard that.
They
Have
took
fun.
they took it out for weight.
We had this discussion in development because our engineer says, "Well, yeah, we don't know what weight," and I was like, "Don't even think about it." And I spoke to all the audio drivers that we have to like tell them to.
Yeah,
have
we
it
don't
in
have.
because-
We just have the vents.
Yeah, well, have fun.
Is it pretty warm?
I mean, in Daytona, our AC is not so reliable, and you have the rule in WEC for temperature in the car, and at night we turn it off to be sure that it works in the day, and like in the night it was okay, but it was getting warm. Like in the day, if the AC we did Sebring test once in like full summer, and the AC wasn't working. I mean, I could do 10 laps, and then I was completely
wow.
roasted. I remember you once
Oof.
commented to, no, it was your brother, it was Ricky, because I posted it on Strava, and it was one of my first runs, so I was still like very excited to drive the car, and I did 10 laps at an average heart rate of 185, I think, something.
Oh wow.
And it was on Strava, and I think Ricky wrote Raul, one of the engineers, like, yeah, it looked like Vanthoor
yeah,
was
yeah.
pushing. But I was just like, I was broken after 10 laps, it was so warm.
Was
Then
it-
a new car, and pushing a lot, and
Did
And
you,
stressed, yeah.
you forget to meditate before?
yeah, that. He always takes a piss of me. But yeah, laughing about it. For you, it's the same story. I mean, actually even worse, because you obviously, your brother is racing as well. You race together with him, and next level, you race together with him in your dad's team.
Yeah.
So how is it for you guys? I guess you have a good relationship between each other, but it's quite special, I think, to have that, no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys are pretty competitive, I think, watching Nürburgring over the years against each other.
That's the
A
first.
little bit. Slightly.
I mean, Ricky and I'd say when we grew up, like we were never competitive against each other.
Oh, no?
And then in 2013, we raced against each other in Daytona Prototypes back in Grand Am. And we like didn't know what it was going to be like. And Ricky was like a maniac against me, like racing crazy hard. And I was like, okay, this is a bit too much now. Like trying to prove a point that we're not going to like be nice to each other. But then when we were like WTR versus Penske, it was always like good racing. And then when we were teammates, it was like, yeah, it was super special to be together. And back then it was kind of like our family because it was our dad's team as well. Like it was our family versus everyone. So every time we did well, it was like super special that we were
Yeah,
I'm sure.
kind of beating proper teams as a family. And
that must be very
we
nice.
yeah, like we finished second at Daytona like 4 times, like from 13 to 16, like second or third every year. And we're like, oh, this is like depressing now. And then Sebring, we finished second a couple times. And so it was like, man, as a family, like if we don't win, it's going to be like depressing if one of us ends up leaving. So
Yeah.
to get that last year when we won a lot of stuff together, it was like emotional and exciting. And the next year he went to Penske, so it was like, all right, we've done our thing together, and even if we retired tomorrow, like we could be happy with our careers that we did that together.
I think that's very
Yeah.
nice at how you guys. I mean, winning. I mean, we only did one season together, and
Yeah,
it was
you-
my first season ever, and I crashed. I think out of the 6 races, I crashed 3 times.
7 times.
So I mean, I don't think we had such a successful history. But I think if you can do it together, the feeling must be very special. I think.
I mean, yeah, but like funny enough, I had an interview, a long interview, like 2 days ago, and the journalist asked me the question from like, if you could choose, who would you take on the car? Would you choose your brother? And I mean, I maybe you're not gonna like the answer, but it's like now today I don't know how it would feel to race together now. Back then it was different because you were coming up and you were young, and I was trying to help you as well. Now I think we're both established. I think it can be very nice, but there can also be difficult parts, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. For
What do you
sure.
think would be difficult?
I don't know. I couldn't give the answer. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to race with you and win stuff like Jordan and Ricky did. But I can imagine at this point as well, it would be, yeah, there would be difficult parts as well. Like, I think back then, like 5 years ago, you were just coming up,
Yeah.
and there was not real competition. I think today, if we would drive together, that would be a lot more. You don't think?
No, I don't think so. I see more competition when you're driving against each other.
Yeah.
Because at the
Yeah,
end of the
same.
day, you are racing together and you both try to win a race. And
Yeah.
as you know as well, in doing an endurance race or a 24-hour race, it's not about who's the quickest. It's about
Oh, it
being.
is. Kidding.
It's about being as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
All three or all four, all I don't know how many drivers there is, but yeah. I mean, I know what you mean because I had
I would
the
really be
same.
annoyed that you would be late for everything.
No, but I do have this. When I just did my first endurance race, I was like, oh, I want to have the quickest lap time. But it doesn't work like it is.
No, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's different maybe between I don't know, maybe it's not like that. We'll
I
have
mean,
to try,
yeah.
but
I would. It would be fun to do, but
who knows?
Yeah,
one day.
I think you guys would be good together because like you said, you're established now, and
Yeah.
when Ricky and I were against each other at the beginning, like we weren't established, and we're like we don't want to drive together for our dad before like we're established because it would just look like two kids driving for their dad. So once we kind of won some stuff on our own and came together, it was like the egos were out of it. We don't have to prove ourselves, and especially when you're winning, like if you're
Yeah.
both winning together, like no
That's-
one can say anything.
for sure.
Like you're doing it as a team. Like one weekend he's better, one weekend I'm better, and you just use it to your advantage. And I'm sure do you guys have different driving styles or anything?
Like Daniel was quite similar, I think.
You still like a good front?
Yeah.
I heard different.
No. I
You
still
sure?
hate understeer, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, do you like a loose rear?
Yeah, I did.
Still?
Yeah.
Somebody told me different.
I don't know if you've been talking to, but
Earl? He said,
well, Earl, I like Earl, but there's a lot of BS coming out of Earl. But one thing I cannot imagine is us driving together with our dad being team boss.
yeah, I just want to
Fucking
ask this. I just want to ask this because
Never in life.
I just want to ask. I don't know your dad, but
We would get in a fight like after one
we
race.
would like
a
if we
boxing fight.
if we did a track limit. You moron! I told you couldn't do track limits. What the fuck are you doing? I mean, how was that actually for you guys? I mean, is he like a very chilled out guy, or is he really
No.
wanting to have
Doesn't
control?
look like that from the outside.
He's not that chill. He's very emotional. But like he was a driver for most of it. Like he won Le Mans, he won Daytona, a Sebring, and Petit all as a driver. So he kind of understands what you go through. But we always joke like he's forgotten what it is like to drive because like if you're behind someone, it's like oh just pass him. Like it's pretty simple. And like it's not that simple. And like before every single weekend, it's like we have to win this weekend. Like this race is so important. Like we have to win this one. And it's every single race he says that. So we had like some frustrating times for sure. But at the same time, when you do well, it's good. But when like the years that we weren't doing so well, it was difficult because it's like our family together is all kind of losing. And like we all go home together, we all fly together, we travel, we eat. Like every weekend we meet up for dinner, and it's like all you talk about is racing. So if it's not going that well, it's not that fun.
Yeah, just
but
like
when we split and we were like kind of all in different cars, it was like there was always a 33% chance someone was having a good weekend,
Yeah, that's true.
which was good.
I would imagine as well, like if you have a team race, and let's say we would race together, and it's the last lap of Le Mans, and you shunt, and then the next day I have to have dinner with you, I'll be like, you fucking.
Well, now you know how I felt 5 years ago when you crashed every race. So then there is the other side of Jordan, let's call it, besides the racing. I mean, I think it's part of you, and I think a lot of people admire you. I mean, I do what you're doing on social media, and it's always a big laugh. All the videos you do, I don't know where you get the inspiration. How did this start? Was it by coincidence? Was it a plan, or? Because also, I mean, I don't know you super personal, but like generally in the paddock, you're a calm, like not a very extrovert guy from how I know you, and on that side, it's a bit sometimes
much different. Yeah, I think when people meet me, like when fans meet me, they're pretty disappointed with how calm I am. It's like, do something funny. It's like, no, I'm not that guy. I don't think, and there was no real plan with it. I mean, back when I drove with Ryan Hunter-Reay, he was our third driver at Daytona, and I was like, back when Twitter and Instagram was like brand new, I was like, hey, if I hit whatever it was back then, like 5,000 followers, I'll grow my mullet back or something. And he's like, I bet if you get 5,000, you won't even grow the mullet. So like when Hunter-Reay like bet me that, I was like, I'm growing it either way. So when I grew that mullet, that was kind of when I think my personality changed a little bit, because I looked ridiculous. And
well, you had it for a while.
I had a long time, but yeah, way too long. And because the sponsors ended up loving it, like Konica Minolta was our sponsor, and they're like, we love this, it gets so much attention. And then we raised a bunch of money to like cut it off for charity at Watkins Glen one year, and Konica Minolta was upset that I was like cutting off the mullet.
Really?
But I think when I grew that mullet, and like obviously when you're like, everyone in racing knew I had the mullet kind of as a joke, but when you go to the gym or the grocery store, like you look like an idiot. So that kind of, I was used to like people just looking at me in a weird way. So I was like, all right, like at this point, I don't care what people think of me too much anymore. Like,
sure.
I'll just do whatever I want. So I think that's where it kind of changed. And I was more comfortable showing my personality. And I wouldn't say it's even my personality. Like sometimes I'm super introverted most of the time. And then sometimes I get in the mood to be the other way around. So it's been fun. Like I do all my stuff by myself. Like I don't have anyone filming for me or like planning my social media. I just, if I think of something, I'll do it and post it.
I mean, I think it's great because it makes people laugh. And what I hate most is you know reading a press release on somebody's Instagram account from thank you to the team and thank you to the tires.
Same thing all the time.
And this, so I mean, I do try and keep it interesting. But how is it? Obviously, I work for a German manufacturer. Nothing against Germans, but I mean, I do kind of get my wife's German, especially she's doing the recording. So it's difficult to be interesting and not get into problems. Maybe it's just like I said, because I'm Porsche's maybe more serious than GM, or do you have that issue as well, or they like go further and they laugh, they have laugh with it?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten in trouble with anything I've done. Like, there's definitely stuff I've wanted to make, but I just haven't because I know it'll go across pretty badly. But they're usually pretty supportive, and I think once it all kind of took on a life of its own, like the whole Rodney Sandstorm thing, I think they know that the fans and people like love that weird stuff so much that if I stopped doing it, people would be pretty upset. So I think they're kind of just along for the ride at this point.
Because the Rodney Sandstorm thing is taking a life on its own, no? I mean, the oval race you did was kind of Rodney Sandstorm driving, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Like, when like, it's taken off almost too much at this point. Like, I'm kind of tired of doing it. But like when I was going to do that race, they're like, hey, what if we did like a Rodney Sandstorm theme? And I'm like, yeah, like that would be hilarious. That would be funny. And then I get there, and like on the entry list, the name is Rodney Sandstorm. And then when I go to the drivers' meeting to like sign in, like to sign the like safety release, like if I crash, it's Rodney Sandstorm. So I'm like, this can't be legal.
Yeah,
I'm not even it's not a real person. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy how far it's taken. And even when I did the Garage 56 thing, like it was in my contract to do Rodney Sandstorm at the parade at Le Mans,
yeah.
like stuff
Really?
like that. Like I've been paid to go to NASCAR races as
But
Rodney,
wanna-
not as Jordan.
I wanted to ask you
So-
that, so it's true.
Yeah, I've had probably more paid appearances for Rodney than Jordan at this point.
That's amazing. I mean, I cannot imagine this working here in Europe. People are too. I mean, that's what I love about America
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, they are
It's-
more.
It's more relaxed and fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, here they.
for sure.
I mean, some would like it, but I think,
You can try.
yeah, but I don't know who I should be.
Well, you're.
I'll send you my outfit. You can.
We skipped one question. It's important one. I think Lawrence wanted to skip it just because he's a bit scared because he's always anyway honest that he is not. But I mean, both brothers racing.
Here comes the question from the guy who said we're not competitive anymore.
Who's faster?
Who's quicker? Who's the quickest?
Me and Ricky?
Yeah.
It was always track dependent. Like there were certain tracks he was always better at, certain tracks I was better at. So like Daytona, I was usually better. Sebring, we were similar. Watkins Glen, he was better. Road America, he was better. I was better at Long Beach, Laguna. So it was weird how it was always kind of a consistent thing. Our driving styles are opposite.
Really?
So I think that's why. So
That's interesting.
like there was always a big compromise in the setup. So the engineer was always like annoyed with us because he wanted something completely different. I wanted something completely different. And
That's different.
yeah, it sounds like Albuquerque drives kind of like how I drive, and Ricky's opposite to Albuquerque now. So I think certain tracks suit each of us differently, and then kind of that was the nice thing about being his teammate was like if I was having an off weekend, it was like there was a very good weekend for him, and if he was a little off, it was my good weekend, and we could kind of use those strengths to our advantage. But yeah, we were always super close. Like Sebring one year, because you guys must get this question all the time too. So like people always ask the question, and Sebring one year throughout the whole 12-hour, our fastest laps was like the same down to the thousandth of a second.
Oh, really?
So I just posted that. I'm like, here's to answer everyone's questions. We're exactly the same. So
Oh, that's cool. That's fun. That's
yeah,
nice.
I mean, it's difficult to answer. You can't answer it
No,
until
it's-
you even
yeah,
No,
say you would go out and do a test today. You still cannot really
yeah.
prove it. So
But he's like we're much different. Like even in the races, like Ricky's, as you guys can probably watch on TV, like he's a fighter.
Yeah.
Like if there's an opening for the win, he's gonna like do everything he can to win the race. And I think I probably more race for probably championship style racing style to get points every race and not be super exciting on track.
yeah. Okay, interesting.
I
Don't
think-
remember that though when we're racing each other.
No. I knew that already. No. But
What
the video you made, I never asked you. The video you made with the disco ball where the Porsche was flashing you.
Oh, with you?
That was me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
No, but I mean, you don't know. In Europe, when you're behind somebody, you flash them, right?
Yeah, but you're not allowed because in the stupid rule. No,
Yeah, but
in
without
WEC
rules.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In America, I found out as well. People kind of get offended by it and think it's unrespectful. Like I
If
had
you
once
flash.
a huge fight with Patrick Long while he was driving a Porsche. He told me, "If you flash me again, I'll put you on the wall." And then
No way.
But yeah, in IMSA, you generally piss people off, which means the flashing works because you piss them off.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
works. They see it. They clearly see it.
But yeah, they don't.
Yeah,
it's not really appreciated.
I've started like at Sebring this year. I remember someone in the 31. It was like practice one and like lap one of practice one. Like you're not going to be setting your fastest lap of the weekend, and this 31 car is flashing his lights at me like crazy. So I'm like, I just start blocking him like insanely aggressively. I'm like, that's when it bothers me. It's like you're flashing me lap one, practice one. Like, take it easy. It's
Yeah,
you
There's
can
another-
pass me the next straight.
that's true.
I forgot. I'm so bad with names. He drives in GTD.
Which brand?
With Magnus.
And Lally.
Andy Lally. Fuck. He hates it as well. He once came to me as well. Like he was a lap down, and I flashed him to get. I mean, because I don't remember. I was fighting for a podium or a lead. He's like, every time you flash me, I'll block you one more race.
What the fuck? What an idiot.
I was like, okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, if you go to IMSA, if you wanna keep some
But
friends.
what is the thing? Why is it like a
Oh, you
thing?
don't ask me.
Is it like they get upset because it's? I mean, in a race,
Well-
it's just a trick to annoy someone. I mean, a trick.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody
some
does.
guys, it just for me, it just annoys me. It's like it doesn't like distract me. It's just like annoying. It's like I'm not gonna let you go because and when I drove prototypes, like you flash them when you're gonna like be
Yeah.
aggressive and make the move just to let them know. So when I went to GT and like everyone's flashing me in GT, I'm like, I'm not gonna move over for you. Like that's what I like. My perception was like, I'm not gonna move over for you right now. Like we're racing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well, also, I think in the IMSA, generally the drivers are more friendshiply with each other outside of the car than we are in Europe. That's what I found.
But
at
it's
least.
always it's always a group of people. You're not friends
for sure.
with everyone on the track. I
No.
mean, you have your
Especially not me, but
yeah, you are for sure not the most loved guy. No, joking. No, but I mean, it's you mainly have your group where
Yeah.
you normally always speak with. The rest.
Do you not want to race in America, Dries?
I actually really do. I mean, I love to go to Daytona. I also love to be in the US because I mean we've been a lot in the US before when I was a bit smaller. But I
even
actually
smaller
never.
now.
Yeah, whatever. No, but I never really got the chance to be honest because when I was at Audi, they didn't really have so much entries going into that
Yeah.
series, so that was difficult. And now at BMW, yeah, let's see, maybe it's possible to do a season. I would like to because I think the racetracks there are very cool, very old school. I mean, I only did Daytona, I guess. Yeah, so I did not even see any other track.
Okay.
I think you'll love it. I mean, I do.
Yeah, which I think I would like to try once, but
What do you guys think of like the different racing style, like IMSA versus WEC?
I mean, I love IMSA. I love being in the States in general. I love racing there. I love the tracks like Dries mentioned. And I always said, when I firstly started or it got decided for me, I didn't have a call on that to do WEC. I mean, yes, it's a world championship. It's Le Mans. And I was like, okay, my dream is to win Le Mans and win the championship. And then I'm back to the States. And now I'm going to buy an RV, start learning to drink beer, and enjoy.
you don't drink beer?
No, I don't like beer. Enjoy racing in America, and that's still what I think to do. But it's somehow
I get you a beer after.
the type of racing in WEC is very different because double cylinder tires, a lot of fuel economy. It's an IMSA you push a lot more, and it's very different. And I'm kind of like feel that I'm coping well with the style in WEC, but yeah, IMSA is more fun. I think this year Le Mans, the first stint, was the first time I really had some battles with other cars. The other races, it's more like you're doing kind of a time trial, the quickest stint you can do, and it's not purely hard racing against each other.
It's
different, but it's
I mean, I don't have so much experience as you guys in IMSA, but it also me doing Daytona for a few times now. Just the whole environment feels a bit more relaxed.
It's a lot more fun.
WEC, it's at the end it's a very nice championship and it's a very big one and it's competitive and blah blah. But you feel as soon as you come into the paddock like, oh, it's tension and oh, he wants to win and oh fuck no, I'm gonna beat you. And there it's more like relaxed and everybody still wants to win but it's more like I wouldn't say friendly because it's racing at the end of the day and okay we are friendly but if it's the last lap I don't care.
But now if I speak to like Pilar or Nick or Earl about the days we had in GTLM, and we're like, oh, those were really, really fun days and years when we spent in IMSA because it's just I think it's more enjoyment.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
I mean, for you are even more used to IMSA than WEC. So
Yeah.
is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always loved IMSA. Like, obviously, the racing style is much different. I like the idea that there's restarts and everyone gets bunched up and like even if the BOP's off, you can still have a chance to fight at least for the win. Like I feel like in WEC and stuff. Like if you're a tenth off on BOP, you just slowly lose the gap throughout the whole race.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that you always have a fighting chance in IMSA.
Yeah, that's very true.
They're even trying out in GT World Challenge to make to get the laps back and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Spa, for example, if you're a lap down, you can still always get your laps back.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm still. We have a meeting for spotting next week, but I still have no clue about rules or anything. But that's good.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, in IMSA, I feel like they have a lot of control of how they want to do everything.
But it's less. It used to be a lot like in the last couple of years, but now I think.
No, but I mean, just in like how they can control a race, like as a race director and as a stewards and the marshals and everyone. I feel that GT World Challenge, it's going very well, but sometimes you have races where it's a bit of a mess and it's difficult to control already just a 3-hour race. And if you then want to add another safety car or to get laps back, it's even like, for example, the thing in Le Mans now this year. Did you see how many hours there was safety car?
I was in
3 hours and 20 minutes of it. It's
takes
crazy.
half an hour if they do it. I mean,
And
the
yeah.
idea is good, but
but they should find something else because, I mean, if you drive 30 minutes in a safety car, it's just
And
boring
still,
for
like,
people to watch.
we were a lap back because of a puncture early on, and even though we overtook the leader and were in the same kind of lap starting to be like that, we still were not able to get a lap back on the safety car. So it's still not like
No.
Yeah.
IMSA, but
No
I've
wave
got-
around.
I've got something. Sorry, Jordan, it's not about the... I mean, it is about podcast, but you remember
That's
my
okay.
last thing I wanted to speak about in Le Mans, about the red flag in qualifying.
oh my god, here we go.
Did you see Formula One qualifying? Did you see it?
Yeah.
Did you see afterwards that Hulkenberg got a 3-place grid penalty because he did not slow down quickly enough to go to 80 at a red flag?
Well, then it's a FIA rule.
Yeah, no, but it's FIA and WEC.
Okay, next question.
Did you lose your lap?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
he
just
lost
took
his
away
lap and he's
my
still crying
complete
about it
lap,
2 weeks ago.
Oh.
and now they just give him a 3-place grid penalty, which, I mean, anyway, it's just a fuck up.
Let's go to the funny part. I obviously listened to your episode with on the Dale Junior podcast, which was anybody who's looking for some podcast recommendation. And there were a couple of funny stories in there, which the European audience definitely need to learn about, and even Dries and my wife are listening here. So I think the one I really want to go is the. You had a difficulty to pronounce the word, but
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
a surprise colonoscopy. Colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy.
Something as surprising your ass, pretty much.
Yeah.
What happened there?
You want me to tell that story?
Well, if you're up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one. So back when it was like when I was doing the Cadillac DPI, so we do the simulator in Indianapolis, and I remember I'd always drive the simulator there, and I'd get out, my butt would be so sore, like crazy sore, and I'd be like, something's got to be wrong. So I went to I don't know what the name is over there, but I think it's like a gastro doctor, like stomach and stuff. So I'm like, hey, I've got these pains in my butt. And obviously you don't want to tell anybody this stuff, like it's awkward and embarrassing. So I'm like, hey, like, he's like, oh yeah, like, no problem. I can take a look next week. Don't worry about it. It'll take 5 minutes. You'll be in and out, like really quick. Just go to this other office. I'll meet you there. It'll be 5 minutes in and out. No, what's the stuff to put you to sleep?
Yeah.
You won't need to go to sleep or anything. I'm like, all right, like great. Just gonna take a look. And so next week comes up and go in there, and it's like a hospital. It's like a proper hospital. I was like, okay, this seems like more intense than I was expecting. And so I go in and they like check me in, and then they put a gown on like you're going for like an operation. I'm like this seems like too much. And they're like, no, it's okay. The doctor's gonna be in here in a few minutes. Who's driving you home? And I'm like, oh no, I'm not. No one's driving me home. I'm gonna drive myself home. Like, oh, you can't drive yourself home because we're putting you to sleep and then you'll be drugged up. I'm like, oh no, like don't worry, I'm not being drugged up. The doctor said I'll be here for 5 minutes. Like, she's like, oh, let me check on that because no one's ever not gone to sleep for this. I'm like, okay, I'm here for something else, so go check on it. So she comes back, she's like, okay, yeah, I guess you don't need the drugs. The doctor said it's fine, which is weird. And I'm like, is it weird? She's like, it just seems weird. I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. And so then they put me on the bed and start like rolling me down this hallway. And I'm like, got all my wrists, like all these bands on. And then another nurse, a male nurse, walks by and is like, oh, we've got a badass here. Because I was awake. And I'm like, what's he talking about? Like, why am I a badass? Like, because you're not getting drugged up. And I'm like, yeah, but don't worry about it. It's like, the doctor knows me, he knows my family. It's something different. He's just going to look at my butt, basically. And we roll in, and it's like a surgery room. And there's screens everywhere. There's like 4 different nurses. And I'm like lying there with my butt out. And this lady walks in. She's like, oh, Jordan Taylor, the race car driver. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so embarrassing. like I'm just lying here butt naked and this lady recognizes me. So I'm like, yeah, like go away, please. So the doctor walks in and he's like, all right, Jordan, like don't worry, I'll have you out of here in a minute. And he like gets out this like thing, and it's a long thing with a camera on it. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna feel some pressure. So I'm like, oh my gosh, and like so it starts. And there's like a screen in front of you, so you can like watch.
Oh, you
him,
can't
like,
even follow.
You're like, I'm wide awake watching this thing, and I'm like, he's like, you can watch the screen. I'm like, no, I'm definitely not gonna watch the screen. So I'm like, just huddled up in the corner, like, I don't even know. And so then it's going in, and at some point, like, I don't know if there's something in your body that like triggers, but it hits a point, and it's like, I have got to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm about to poop all over this guy's hands. Like, his hands are down there, and I'm like, I'm about to go, like, right now. So, like, I don't say anything, but I'm like, I'm clenched. I'm like, I'm on a hospital bed, so I'm like holding on to this hospital bed, and I'm like, oh, like trying to hold it in, like sweating profusely, and like, so this nurse like sees me over here, like just shaking, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I think so. She's like, you don't look okay. I'm like, is it normal that you have to poop right now? And she's like, oh yes, that's totally normal. I'm like, okay, I'm about to poop all over. Like, I'm about to go. I'm about to explode. And he's like, all right, hold on. So he starts backing up the camera out of there. And then I'm like, he gets it out. I'm like, okay, I guess I don't need to poop anymore. And so he's like, all right, you look all good. And then I wheel out and I'm on my way. I drove home. So, yeah, it was quite the experience.
I can imagine.
Yeah, if you ever have like any doctor say like you don't worry about it, like always worry about it.
Well, to be fair, I think I never said it as well, but I've been there as well.
You did this as well?
Yeah. But my one
Really?
wasn't, they didn't put me asleep neither. I guess it's maybe, it didn't really hurt. I mean, it was a bit awkward, yeah, for sure. I didn't have to poop. Nah, I agree. I had that poop feeling as well, I think, but I guess it was maybe it didn't went so deep as
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how deep they went, but it felt pretty deep.
Yeah. Once in a lifetime is enough.
I mean, I'm not planning to.
Yeah, because I've got IBS, little bowels.
Oh, yeah.
You went up on that.
Wait, do you have to have that every year after you're like 40 years old over there? Because in America you do,
I hope not.
for insurance reasons.
I've never heard about it, so.
Yeah, in America, once you hit 40, you have to have that every year, I think, for like health
Oh, yeah.
insurance.
Okay. Oh, still
Enjoy.
Yeah.
8 years ago.
I'll think about it.
Not moving to America anymore.
Yeah, that was something though. Quite the story. The Europeans will really get to know me after that.
I also heard that you're secretly married.
Yeah, that's something as well. It happened a couple of years ago. It was actually the Corvette mechanics are the ones who like started the whole thing. So like there was an account on Instagram with like a girl, and she was always posting pictures of our car like in the garage in the paddock area. And they're like, we never see this girl taking these pictures. I'm like, that's weird, but like whatever. And then like fast forward a year, and I was dating someone, and she gets a message from a lady saying like, hey, we see you're dating Jordan Taylor. We just want you to know that he's married, and we've been friends with his wife for the past 4 years. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then a week later, I get a message from a guy saying like, hey, we see you're like dating someone and like posting about it, but there's been someone that we've known for 3 or 4 years now that's been telling us that she's married to you. I was like, okay, like that's very weird. And it was that account. So I start like looking on that account, and wherever I would be, so like say I was at an event in Watkins Glen, that account would like find out who's in Watkins Glen, screen record the post, crop out the name, and post it saying like, here we are in Watkins Glen,
Jeez.
here we are getting pizza. They had like a place locally where I get dinner sometimes, like date night here. And then like I scrolled all the way down to like 2018, and there was a picture of me and some random girl saying like, this is where it all started. So like it was going on for like 3 years.
That's scary.
And then we found the real person's name, and then like they had been arrested a few times.
Oh, yeah.
And then I posted like to my Instagram like, hey, if you see that I'm married, like just know that I'm not married. And I got a lot of messages back from like fans saying like, we've been talking to someone for years saying you're married to her. And then one person's like, yeah, she's been telling us that you're in marriage counseling for sex addiction and all these crazy things. So
No way.
I haven't. I think that account's gone now, so I'm not sure if I'm still married or not.
But it's still. But the thing is solved. Like the police handle it, or it's
No,
still.
the police wouldn't do anything. So it's all like virtual. So I did.
way.
So like back in 21, I posted a picture with my girlfriend, and she had taken the picture and like photoshopped a different face on her, and like here we are doing this and that, and so we went to the police to say like, hey, there's this stalker situation. And like they were writing down the whole story, they were loving it, and then like, what do we do? And they're like, oh, we can't do anything. Like you can get a restraining order, but she's
Don't
not
even
doing
know who it
anything
is,
to you in
probably.
person. So
Yeah. Did you figure out
Yeah.
who it is in real life, or?
yeah, I met the people who had messaged me in real life in December, and they said that she disappeared. So I'm not sure
Jeez,
where she is at this point.
this was better not to know. I guess.
Yeah,
That's really weird.
she's
Huh?
probably next door right now.
Listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's crazy.
How's
What
the
people are even doing, like even though the things will happen, I don't know if it's the same in US because it's a bit more secured, I think, and controlled of all the hacking. I mean, I think a lot of hacking happens daily.
I
but-
think in America it's worse, no? Like identity theft and all that stuff.
Yeah, but
Credit
aren't they a
card?
bit more like, yeah, maybe. But for example, Muke, our grandmother, or you
Yeah.
say it like this, she gets this, and she believes it until 1 year ago. She would get this message like, "Oh, mom, I'm so sorry to disturb you, but I lost my phone. Can you please click on this link?" And she is like, "Oh, such a poor kid." I click on the link, and then she gets hacked completely, and it
Yeah.
happened to her like 10 times. She has like 6
That's
different email
everywhere.
addresses
Yeah.
and two
I think
different.
that's even worse in America.
Yeah, but it just,
Gonna-
what do people, like, people have nothing else to do than just fucking screwing people over with these.
You never had the
Yeah.
guy from Nigeria who wanted to give you $1 million?
From what? Ah,
How do you get these people?
I had this thing, you remember the beer box we had last time when I was having dinner? I said I want
I
a
told you
beer.
it was spam.
Yeah, and then
It was spam?
It was spam.
Yeah, I'm on you laughing about like grandmother.
Yeah, because
He told he won a beer box. Yep.
well,
How are the Ironman things going? Are you still training for it? Are you still going to do another one, or?
Yeah, I'm signed up again, unfortunately.
Which one? The
For
same one, or?
November, but I'm traveling more this year than I was last year, so I don't think the training is going to be as good. But yeah, my buddy Spencer Piggott's signed up as well, so I feel like I kind of have to keep up with it a little bit with him.
Sure.
So I think the training right now isn't that crazy, but next couple of months I think it'll ramp up. Are you done with full? You're not going to do it full, are you?
I mean, I loved it, but I felt like
You
okay,
should
this
have seen his face after. We have to make a picture of on the podcast.
well, at least I did one.
Well, I mean,
But yeah, this year is different because I have less races and I've been very busy into Le Mans. Now it's a little bit more relaxed and there would be more time. But I felt like the amount of time I needed to train for it, and knowing myself, I would do 100% or 0%, not in between.
Yeah.
Was too much for the time I had, and also to be specific in training for motorsports, because I felt like just running, biking, swimming wasn't really everything 100% specific for what I'm doing. And yeah, I signed up for the full one last year. Actually, it was in California, where the swim was downwards in the river.
Yeah.
Which would help a lot. And I qualified for the half distance world championship, and I didn't do either of both. And I haven't swam since then. I would still at one point do a full distance one, but I think it will be post racing, the type of thing.
Yeah, after the career. Yeah, it does take an annoying amount of time to train for, especially the full distance. Like the last 2 months last year leading into it, every weekend is a 5-hour bike Saturday with a little run, and then like a 30K run Sunday. So it's like your weekends are just terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, having a wife and daughter also doesn't help the training time. So
yeah.
Jordan, don't you have isn't there a story as well, which I once heard about your experience that you had to go to the toilet or whatever when you were doing it? Isn't there?
Yeah, I didn't actually. I mean, I was unbelievably close to going. It was at Daytona, actually. The worst one that I had was a half Ironman. And I started the run and I felt really good. And I got 9 miles in. And so you run the road course, and then you run NASCAR 1 and 2, and then you go out the back into some streets. And I'm on turn 3 in the road course. I'm doesn't feel that great. And I get to the dog leg, and I'm like, okay, this is bad. And then there's a bathroom at turn 6 onto the banking. And then when I got there, I felt fine. So I'm like, I'm good to go. I'm 5 miles from the finish. I can make it. And then I get onto the oval, and it I mean, everyone's been there. How that feeling, you have to go. It's gonna come out no matter what. And part of me was I should just go right here on NASCAR 1 and 2 just to say that I did it, just so I can always say I pooped right on the racetrack. But I made it out of the track, and I was at the point of I was about to just go while I was running, and I couldn't make it to the bathroom, and then somehow I made it to this bathroom, and I even looked at my watch after the race, my data, and I think my time was 47 seconds in and out of the bathroom. It was the worst feeling I've ever had, though. And we were the only people wearing this certain look of a tri-suit, so everyone would have known it was me, that the guy who squatted in the middle of the track and pooped everywhere. So it would have been a bad look.
I had a similar thing when I did my second one.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, I had to pee on the run, very badly as well.
You peed in the water.
Yeah, no, that's shit. You have a wetsuit on, it literally stays in the wetsuit. I tried that once.
Oh my god.
But I was doing the run, and I was doing a pace which even was a lot better than I expected, and I was on the way to do a good time, and I was like, fuck, I don't want to lose a minute now by stopping here at the toilet and pee. It was getting worse and worse and worse, and it was really hot, so I was sweating. At one point there was nobody really running around me, and I was like, would I be able to pee while I'm running?
Did you?
And I tried, and it was I mean, peeing in a race car is tough, but peeing while you're running, that's next level.
Yeah.
And I tried a bit, and it worked. And then I peed like in 3 or 4 times every time when I was a bit alone. And then there's time, but
Oh,
Yeah.
Do you guys pee in the race car?
no.
I've
Never.
done it like 2 or 3 times.
If I
but-
see that somebody peed, I close the door again.
I mean, it's been a long while ago, but yeah.
You, Jordan, you?
I've tried, but I can't.
Indeed, I don't know how.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
hard, right?
I have to bring up my buddy Max again. I don't know, you know him?
Maxime Martin. Yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've heard this.
Yeah, he's wearing diapers. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he's probably
I
listening.
still don't think I could do it though.
No, I physically, I
Yeah.
tried once
Same.
and I push and like, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I did it on the safety car. But
I had one at Daytona the year that we had like a bunch of caution for the fog in the night. So it was like 3:00 in the morning and we were leading and I had to go so bad back in the DPI days. And we're leading and I'm like, you know when it like hurts and you have to pee like that bad?
yeah.
I'm like, I have to pee. And like, no, like you need to stay in. Just try pee in the car. And I'm like trying. Can't pee. So I'm like, and it's caution. So I'm like, I'm going to do whatever I can to pee here. So I take my gloves off. I put them on the dash. I loosen all the belts. I unzip the suit. And I'm like, I'm going to like try simulate peeing. So I like grab onto it. And I'm like trying to imagine me like standing in a bathroom. And I'm like trying to aim where I'm going to pee. And as soon as I'm like
In the
right
car.
about to pee, yeah, they called me in the pits. So like I had to like get dressed again, put my gloves back on before I jumped out because imagine like a guy jumping out 3 o'clock in the morning, like half naked.
I hope you didn't have an in-car cam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the closest I got.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I did it once where they didn't drill a hole in the seat and it was literally a puddle in there.
Oh.
And it was only half race. Earl was.
Oh.
I think
Sprint
it
race. Was a sprint race.
No, a 24-hour race. I once did it with a guy who did it like in a 1-hour sprint race. There I was like, come on.
Was it?
Oh,
That's
daddy.
bad.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. We had you remember Max Angelelli?
Yeah.
He used to pee all the time, but it was like 2 or 3 hours to go in the Rolex, and he's standing on the pit wall, and the engineer looks down, and he's like standing in a bunch of water. He's like, "Oh, let me dry your feet off before you get in the car." So he dried his feet off like with his hands, and then Max had peed while he was standing there,
On.
and he didn't tell the guy that it was pee that he was rubbing off until after the race.
No way. But I
Yeah.
hate the feeling of having to pee in the car. Like
Yeah.
I literally on the grid, you'll see me behind the tires peeing in the bottle before getting in the car.
This is actually forbidden.
Peeing in the bottle before going in the car. Why is this forbidden?
On the grid.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a thing? No, seriously. Wasn't there a thing on the red flag when people just went to pee that they got fined? WEC, I think it even was last year.
Well, they can find me if I have to pee. I have to pee.
No, but I'm serious. I'm not joking. You have to. I mean, I don't care if you pee. I also pee where I want, but I'm quite sure that there was something.
Well, I'll tell you soon. If
But
they,
I think it
I'm doing
was
the
red
start
flag.
sign race, so.
I don't know.
Okay. So
Yeah.
thank you for being on the show. I think it was very funny, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, you guys too. I'm glad. Hopefully, this is all recorded and it works well.
I hope so.
If not, just blame it on Lawrence.
Yeah, because I'm the only one
I'll talk to
doing
you
all
guys
the
again tomorrow if it didn't work.
No, I'm pretty sure it worked. So, what's next for you? Watkins Glen, no?
Yeah, next week, Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
You guys have a long break? Or one spa?
In 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have
And
DTM this weekend. Next weekend. This
Yeah.
weekend coming now.
yeah, I only have 4 more races left this year.
4.
Yeah,
I think I have
easy times.
10.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing
Be
to
a
do.
good, be a good Ironman year.
Yeah, but I that's the one thing I'm scared of is restarting the swimming.
Yeah.
Now I haven't swam
Uh.
in a year, I think, or more.
Yeah.
I'm upping my cycling now a bit. Now I have more time, so I finally have some more time for that. But
Yeah. That's nice to just do the stuff you enjoy anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Not a job.
Exactly. Okay, well,
Thanks
wish
a
you
lot,
good luck in
Jordan.
Watkins Glen. Thank you for taking the time. And speak
Have
to
a
you
lovely
soon.
day.
Everybody who's watching or listening.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Thanks.
say everybody who's watching or listening, you can find us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. But obviously, when they're watching and listening already, they already find us. So it doesn't make sense.
Did that hurt when you thought about that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they're listening, they might not know they can watch. And if they're
Exactly.
watching, they might not know they can listen.
I did a long bike ride this morning. I need some food. I think that's the point. Okay. I think it's a good close off.